All right, everybody, welcome to Making the Cut Rey Tarkintown edition, the video. I made a article that I put out earlier this week detailing a lot of the card choices in this deck and how I decide what gets in and what is left out. But I wanted to make a little video for some of the people who don't like reading. Start off, there are more than 60 good cards, so we have to choose which ones make it in. A lot of you guys are asking me, like, why didn't you play The Forces with Me? Why don't you play Moisture Farmer? Well, Moisture Farmer I don't think is one of those good cards, but The Forces with Me I think is a pretty good card. But we can't fit everything in, so we have to make some hard choices. Some of you guys might have different local metas where the choices you make might be a little bit different, but I usually make decisions based on a more open generic meta and what I'm expecting to see when I go to a tournament. So we start off with our core 42 cards. This is what I've narrowed down as being the basis of the deck. This is what defines the deck. So if I'm going to cut one of these cards, I need a good reason. That isn't to say I won't ever cut one of these cards, but usually there just has to be a really good reason for it. Like, I could definitely see a situation where you move Crate Dragon to the sideboard. If you have a meta where there just isn't a lot of control, or you don't have a lot of big mid-range decks, you're not seeing a lot of mirrors, that could totally be a sensible thing to do, because Crate does get sided out a lot against aggro decks. So if you're just seeing only aggro decks, you're only seeing, Sabines and Djangos, then maybe it makes sense to just start with that in the sideboard and bring it in against the Bosks and control decks. But like I said, you need to have a really good reason. Either like a very pitched meta, or you just have like a strategy that's working for you that you don't need one of these cards. But this to me is the core. Like if the other thing that I could see potentially trimming on is the Conquer Dawn Interceptors. Like I know some people are like, I do not have Django in my meta. If that's the case for you, then feel free to trim one of those. Now for me, these are the other 8 cards to fill in the 50. Right now I'm using Vanquish. Fell the Dragon filled this role for a long time, but right now the big boogeyman in the meta is Django, and Fell the Dragon misses most of that deck. Vanquish comes in and can kill raiders, the 4/6 raider. It can kill a lot of the 3/5s that are in the meta. There's Lom Pikes, and there's a lot of situations where we have board control, but we want to just be able to kill any unit that gets played no matter what it is. That means if somebody plays a tech, if somebody plays a smuggles in a Cassian, we just need to have a card that can kill whatever it is. So right now I'm liking Vanquish. I think it's worth the extra resource at this point. That might not be the case always, but right now that's what's working. I also have some counter strategy with Regional Governor. I've been liking Regional Governor a lot for taking care of cards before they get played. There are certain cards that beat us the instant they hit the board, and we want to keep that from happening. Regional Governor is great at naming the Ruthless Raiders. That way they can't cheat them out with Triple Dark Raid, they can't sneak attack them, etc. Regional Governor is also in our deck a lot harder to remove because it can be made into as much as a 3/6. So it can be pretty tricky. Like it's been playing better than I thought it would. I also have Poe. A lot of people try and cut Poe. I've tried to cut Poe. It just never works out. He is part of making our deck more consistent by increasing the avenues we have to discard. The ability to defeat upgrades can be relevant a lot. And overall, he just does a lot of different things that we want our deck to do. Also, being able to play a really big unit for 5 resources can be important sometimes. He can draw Fell the Dragon out before we play Luke and our Crate Dragons, which can be very important. We want our Lukes to survive. And then the last couple slots are just extra copies of R2-D2 and Kanan. Those could be other things, but right now I just like having the consistency. The R2-D2 is a really good turn 1 play, especially with a lot of the ping decks. Being able to play R2 turn 1 against Quinlan is really good because they don't run 1-drops most of the time, so they aren't able to ping him. He can also be good against, just in general against Tarkintown decks because we can buff him out of range of Tarkintown. And then Kanan, I just really want to be able to make sure that I have a Force user going into the 5 resource turn. One of my favorite things to do is on 5 resources to play Pillage and a Force Throw, and he lets us do that. The 4/5 stat line is also great, taking out leaders, because he comes down the turn before almost all leaders. So for most leaders, they deploy. We can attack into the leader with Kanan, and then they have to either decide whether they want to attack back into him and trade, or let us get another attack in. So usually he's pretty good at finishing leaders off. Say if you have someone like Django, like a 3/7, we play Kanan and then Django flips. We attack into him, put 4 damage onto him. It sets up a lot of other ways to remove Django at that point. All right. Next we have the sideboard. Right now I'm running top targets. I've been really having a hard time against Sabine lately, and I think top target gives us a chance. I think even with top target, it's a really tough matchup, but it at least gets us in the game. There's so many times where we're 1 or 2 actions away from stabilizing, and top target gives us the space to get those couple more actions in. Then I have Confiscate. Confiscate's also good against Sabine. There are really a lot of problematic upgrades in the meta right now. Darksaber, Bosk bounties, lightsabers, etc. And the 1-cost upgrade hate is really good against those, particularly in our deck. Some people like Fang Fighters, but I think it's a lot harder to keep 3 resources open for a Fang Fighter than it is to just keep 1 for Confiscate. Because of our leader ability, we often have 1 resource available. So it's easy. We're already a lot of times on the 4 resource turn playing a 3-drop and then either buffing it or playing Force Throw. So it just plays in the pre-existing lines already. It just slots right in. Then I have Tech and Cassian. I think right now it's really important to be able to smuggle cards. Like, even aside from Tech's ability of making everything else have smuggle, there are just so many ways that our hand gets killed by other decks, like against Quinlan, mirror matches. Sometimes Bosk even runs Pillage. So we just need to have something to do on those turns when we've been pillaged or Force Thrown or sparked. Sometimes even if they play Kira to kill our 4 or 5 resource play, we just need to be able to smuggle something out just to get a unit on the board, so we don't fall too far behind. And then the last couple slots in the sideboard are just extra removal. I like the 3rd copy of Takedown right now. Like I said, with Sabine, I really want to be able to kill her before she can put a Darksaber on. And then Takedown is also just, in my opinion, the best blue removal spell right now, being able to hit leaders. So we want a 3rd copy of that. And then Rival's Fall. I have a one copy of Rival's Fall in the sideboard right now. It's mostly for Anakin, but it can also be really useful against Django. When Django gets a flamethrower on, he can be really hard to deal with because he could just clear our board. So it's kind of an oh shit button to take care of that. And so that sort of fills out the sideboard. So part of coming up with a 60 that I'm using is that you have to make a lot of really tough decisions. Nema Outpost Constable was an all-star in set 2. It was really good at solving the Sabine matchup in that set. Jedi Lightsaber was also really, really good against Sabine. But the problem is that because there are so many good upgrades right now, people have a lot of really good ways to deal with upgrades. So Jedi Lightsaber can often set up 2-for-1s for your opponent, either by them ECLing Poe in and discarding a card to remove the lightsaber and then killing the unit, and then Poe's still alive. And it's just an absolute blowout when that happens. And nowadays, Sabine players seem a lot smarter about how they're using ECL, and they're not burning it on our turn 1, which is something that they were doing in set 2 a lot. And then the Nemas, I could see the Nemas making it back in, but right now it's just kind of crowded out. There's just a lot of good cards, and it's tough to fit it in. But I could see a situation where Nema either makes it in a sideboard or possibly even the main board. But right now they're on the cutting room floor. So what about these other good cards? These are cards that I see in a lot of other people's decks. In the case of the Force is with me, and sometimes Hello There. And then, but for me, these are too situational. Mystic Reflection and Hello There are both good, but they have narrow windows where they're useful. We do have a lot of Force users in the deck, but when I experimented with Mystic Reflection, it just it was offline a lot more often than you would think. But I could see a situation where Mystic Reflection makes it into the sideboard just basically as an extra worse copy of Perilous Position. And then Hello There, the windows for Hello There is so small. If it was cheaper, I could see playing it, but at 3 cost, it's just hard to play, and it's just dead a lot of the time. Evidence of the Crime is one of my favorite cards. I play it all the time, but with Darksaber being back in the Sabine decks, it's just such a liability to have that as your upgrade hate card, which is why I'm back on Confiscate. There was a minute where Sabines had taken Darksaber out, and Evidence of the Crime was great. Being able to take a Bosk bounty and take it off of your unit and put it onto Bosk, like a Death Mark, is just a huge swing. Being able to steal an opponent's Jedi Lightsaber to put it onto your unit is huge. Yeah, so it's a great card, but right now it just doesn't really fit in the meta when there's a 4 cost upgrade that's really big. And then the Force is with me. I think the Force is with me is a really good card, but I think it is a little bit too expensive. If Force is with me costs 3, I would be slamming it. Being able to play a Village Protector and the Force is with me on the flip turn would be massive, but the 4 cost makes it really, really hard to squeeze into our existing lines. And I think it sets up a lot of situations where you just end up being really inefficient, and that's not really what I want to do. I don't want to be on 5 or 6 resources and play the Forces with me and then have nothing else I can do that turn. I don't think its effect is strong enough to be able to get away with that. And then Unexpected Escape. I think Unexpected Escape could be good. I think if Cad Bane unit becomes big, I could see playing this card. I think even if you're just exhausting a unit for 1, that could sometimes be good. It would probably take the top target slot in my sideboard, but I could see it, because if you're exhausting a unit, you could be effectively healing 4 or 6. So yeah, maybe. The only thing, the only reason I like top target more is because with top target you can play top target at the end of a turn, and then the beginning of the turn, the next turn, claim the bounty. Whereas with an Unexpected Escape, you kind of want to have initiative, and we don't have initiative very often in our deck, so that's kind of why I'm not playing it right now. Now these are all cards that are good enough to make into the deck, in my opinion, but we just, like I said, there's more than 60 good cards, so we have to make choices. So Daring Raid I think is good. If it became like a really, really aggressive meta where it was just like Sabine and Django are dominating everything, I would definitely play it. I like it also against Han to be able to have a way to put 2 damage on Tech or DJ in order to be able to Tarkintown to finish them off. But right now I just can't fit it into my list. But like I said, if there's a very once the meta coalesces, like some of these cards might make it in. But right now I have to form the deck for a very open meta. So I'm kind of being pulled in a lot of different directions right now. Open Fire, also same sort of situation, where it's just like a very situational removal. I like both Daring Raid and Open Fire because they synergize with Tarkintown. Being able to put 4 damage on a unit and then finish it off with Tarkintown, like killing like a Darth Vader or a Maul or a Snoke or something like that is really good. But right now there are a lot of shielded units, like a lot of shielded 2-drops. So Open Fire just doesn't do anything to those. Like 7th Fleet Defender, Crafty Smuggler, L3. So there's just a lot of stuff that it misses right now. But like I said with Daring Raid, and if the meta coalesces in a way where it hits more units, then I could see that making it in, possibly over like the sideboarded takedown and Rivals Fall. And then we have Senatorial Corvette, favorite card of mine. I love it. It is absolutely fantastic against control. It's fantastic against Bosk in particular. Anytime you can force your opponent to have to spend 2 cards to remove one of your cards, I think is a really good thing. And the 5 power is an absolute hammer. And the Saboteur is kind of relevant too. A lot of times these control villain decks like don't have very much space, and the cheap space units that they do have are like the Black Sun Starfighter 3/2 ship, or they have like a whatchamacallit, the 3/4 Sentinel, and this can just like get right through those guys. So yeah, if it became a more control dominated meta, I could see Corvette making it in, definitely in this sideboard. And then Razor's Crest. Razor's Crest is fantastic against aggro. It is absolutely insane against Django, being able to pull back extra copies of Perilous Position. But like I said previously, like right now I'm just trying to cover like a very wide meta, and so there's a lot of spots that are taken up just to be able to counter like any possible deck that I have to play against. And if it starts to coalesce around Django being like the top boogeyman deck, then Razor Crest will probably make it in. So yeah, those are the choices about the cards that I consider in my deck and what made it in and what made it out. I'm sure I missed something. So if you have a card that you love that you have in your deck and you want to know why I don't have it in mine, then you should comment below. Let me know about it. Make your arguments. Maybe there's something that I'm overlooking. I'm always trying to reevaluate cards and reconsider my prior assumptions. So tell me what I'm wrong about. And then always like and subscribe. It helps a lot. And thanks for watching. Bye.